What up, everyone? How's it going? My name is Nekky Jamal. Welcome to another live show Wednesday nights. And, you guys are in for a treat because I have to introduce to you my man, Pio Modi, all the way from Ontario. This dude is an occlusion whiz. He's an absolute occlusion genius. Man, I don't know. I failed out of the Kois occlusion curriculum because I'm just not that bright and I just never fully understood any of that stuff. And so I'm hoping Pio here can demystify it for all of us other flunkies just like myself. But yeah,
Oh,
without further ado, Pio, welcome to the show, my man.
hey man, super honored, man. I mean, you're an inspiration to all of us, dude. I mean, what you're doing and how you teach, and man, your positivity. I'm hoping it's going to be contagious tonight. So I hope we can catch it. I can catch it over here in Ontario because it's second to none, man. It's awesome,
Oh
so
no,
awesome.
man! I love you, buddy. I love you, buddy. But when I start off all these shows, and I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you're all about, how you got into dentistry, why you chose dentistry. Where did you grow up? Just spill your story, buddy.
So you and I are, we're brown but different brown, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not you're not Indian born. So long story short, my parents really they kept pushing me to go into medicine. My mom was a family doctor,
Yeah.
and honestly, when I was an undergrad at Mac, I really wanted to do an MBA.
Oh,
I wanted to do an
really?
MBA.
Okay. Okay. It's your business
Yeah,
guy.
my business, and my parents thought I was too quote unquote naive to go into the business world, so they kept pushing me to do medicine. So then I applied to medicine and dental school. I was not passionate about either of them, to be
Yeah.
honest, and got into U of T dental, went with it, loved it way more than I would have loved medicine. But even dental school, dude, was not I was not overly passionate about it. And then I did a residency in the States, and then I came back and I
That
I
was
worked at
in
two.
Miami, right?
Yeah, Miami Valley. Oh, Miami Valley in Dayton, Ohio. It's not as glamorous as Miami. So it's Miami Valley Hospital. I wish it was Miami. Dayton, Ohio. It's not. You're not. It's not on anybody's bucket list to go to for a vacation.
That's like
But
going to University of British Columbia in the Saskatchewan campus. Like,
exactly. So, but I became a Ohio State Buckeyes fan as a result because two of my close friends. But anyways, I came back from the residency, and the interesting story is I went to two practices as an associate. One was this beautiful practice, very state of the art, and the other was a very average ho hum looking practice. The irony was that the beautiful practice, the dentist who I was working with, was probably the worst dentist I've ever met. I mean, I cannot even describe the dentistry that was being done. It was just horrendous. The amount of crown recement that's used for this guy was just horrendous. But people loved this guy because he was like a used car salesman, right? He just knew how to talk to people.
yeah.
And then the practice that was ho hum, the guy was easily one of the top five dentists I've ever met. He was just incredible. He was a panky dentist, but he also did training in Austria with a guy named Rudy Slavicek, which is like he's like the Pete Dawson of Europe, and he's very advanced into nethology, which is when you're really measuring the condylar settings and guidance. And but anyways, my mentor dentist, his name is Dale Legui, and he changed my career, man, because at the time I wasn't really passionate about dentistry, and he told me you got to go see Pete Dawson, and I went to see Pete Dawson in 2004, and that changed everything. It was incredible, and he supported it because he was doing that type of dentistry. But then the time came he was going to sell the practice in 2007, and I was just too mature and I was having too much fun because I think I was doing stand-up comedy on the side for from 2006 to about 2010. And at that time, man, I was having so much fun bolting up to Toronto, which is an hour drive, doing crappy open mics. And like, I'm talking like the worst open mics, man. Like, there'd be sometimes like five people, like, and like, and they
Dude,
would
that sounds
laugh.
like my live show. There's like maybe two people. This is your open mic right here, buddy.
Back in my open mic days. But dude, I was having so much fun, man. It's like I had no desire to be an owner, and then I got married, and then had to get my act together. And the practice I was in they were not doing panky at all. The person he sold it to it was all about money. I had no connection with it at all. long story short, then I started my own practice here in Brantford, Ontario, and end of 2010. And then I went Dawson hard, man. I went through the Dawson curriculum all the way through. I blitzed through it, finished it in 2013. And, and then I joined the faculty around like 2015, 2016. And, it's been great, man. It's just, it's really changed my career. It gives me some peace of mind with, when I'm doing my complex cases, because I feel like, I have the armamentarium to, handle these types of cases. So, but that's the long and short of, my career,
Pio,
from school
I
to
got so
here.
much to dive into. Before I even talk about dentistry, tell me about stand-up comedy. Out of all the professions out there, I think stand-up comedians are phenomenal storytellers. Their public speaking is impeccable, and I think as dentists, we can all learn from stand-up comedians. No, there is no better storyteller out there than a stand-up comic. Do you agree?
100%, man.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
How do you do that, man? Like, I read books on how to tell stories, and I suck at telling stories. I just share my own failures, and people like that, right? But like stand-up comics, it's just, you go up there for an hour and people stare at you, expect to be entertained. What is the pressure behind that? How did you get into this, man?
So what happened was in dental school, there was we had our talent show, and at that time I never acted or done anything,
Yeah.
and the show's called Dentantics at U of T, and third year is the big year, and I went up and I did a sketch, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life because
Really?
people really really loved it. And dude, I'm not an athlete. I was never excelled at anything other than getting the typical marks, right? And people responded so well. And then I did it the year after. And then in Toronto, there's the Second City. Second City, like
Yeah, man.
big names like Mike Myers and all these
Of
people.
course.
So the big
Yeah.
one is Chicago, right? Because
Yeah.
Chicago, they call it the Second City because when it burnt down, right? So that's why it called Chicago burnt down. They called it the Second City. But Second City in Toronto, I mean, there's multiple locations, but the Second City in Toronto is the second biggest one. I mean, some
Yeah.
huge talent. So
Yeah.
I did all the classes in improv there. I did all the classes in improv, and I loved it. But I didn't like, as a dentist, we're control freaks, right? So I didn't like the lack of control with improv, right? Because you're relying too much on somebody, and if they're the other person, your partner is not, you're not jiving, it's just awful, right? So
Yeah.
just stand-up comedy, and then I kind of halted on it. I was in a relationship that wasn't the greatest, and then once that relationship ended, I was like, I just went for it. And the only way you can learn is you have to go and do open mics. And I was having so much fun, man. The year one, it went so well for me. It went way beyond what I expected. I got so Yuck Yucks. I don't know if there's Yuck Yucks out west,
Yeah,
right?
man.
Are there
Yeah.
Yuck
Yeah.
Yucks?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Yuck Yucks had a national competition called the Great Canadian Laugh Off, and so basically every city in Canada competed, and
Yeah.
I won in Hamilton, and then
What?
and then we all competed in Toronto. So there's 8 nights, and the winner of each of the 8 nights got to compete in the final, the Great Canadian Laugh Off, which was aired on the Comedy Network.
Yeah.
And dude, that was one of the best nights of my life. It just connected. You know this because you're such an awesome speaker. When you're in that zone and you're in that flow, and the audience, dude, it was like I can't even describe that energy that was coming back at me. And it was one of the best nights I ever did. I won, and I made it to the Comedy Network final. So it was aired on Comedy Network. I had no business being in that top 8 because these were like really good, experienced comics, like good comics, and they looked at me like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And,
Yeah.
and I had no business being there, but it still was a blast. But then there was a lot of ups and downs with comedy too, right? Because when it's not connecting, man, I've had some bad gigs, bro. Like once I started getting paid, there was a gig where I was doing it was a Sri Lankan Medical and Dental Association, and it was a typical Brown event where nobody had eaten. It was like 10 o'clock, nobody had eaten, and here they pull me up, and dude, people are clanking their glasses. There's 500 people, right? I'm getting $500. It was the first time I'm getting paid to do comedy, and I'm like bombing. I'm bombing hard, and they want me to do 25 minutes. I'm like, oh my god! Like if people are clanking their glasses, nobody's eaten. Typical Brown event, and I'm just like, oh. Get me! I'm going to be so embarrassed to take the check from this guy. Like this was like an MD, and he's going to give me a check. So I bombed hard many times, dude. But I part of me wants to go back to it at some point. I would love to do it again. And like you said with comedy, my friends, I have some friends who are really crushing it now.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was one guy, well, two guys who are so insanely talented. I knew they would be something special. The one guy's name's Nathan McIntosh. I think he's the only Canadian who's been on Conan, Colbert, and Fallon.
Really?
Nathan McIntosh, he did a set on Fallon. Anybody wants to YouTube it? He absolutely crushed it. It was so many standing ovations. I mean, applause breaks,
Yeah.
insane. And another guy named is Dave Merhej, and he's been on TV shows like Mr. D,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's on the show Rami, and Rami's done very well. Like he's been nominated for Emmys, and he's one of the
Really?
supporting actors. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I met some really cool people through it, man. Really, really cool people. Part of me misses it too. That's why I want to get back into speaking to be like hopefully I'll come speak with you one day, and because that's going to bring me back to the speaking. Obviously, I'm not doing stand up, but I do miss being on the stage
But
a
Pio,
lot.
how do you get in front of an audience and they're just like, how do you learn to public speak like that? Because you need to own it, man. Like you need to have the confidence that you own that stage. How do you learn something like that?
It's it's as cliche as it sounds. You learn it on the stage. It's
Yeah.
like you with your speaking. I'm sure with each of your lectures, you just keep getting more polished and better. I mean, you always get awesome reviews, right? Everybody just raves about you. But I'm sure each one you just keep getting better and better. You find a flow, dude. The funny thing with comedy, I was having so much fun with the first open mics. I didn't even like people just felt my enthusiasm up there, and I didn't even care if it didn't connect. And then I mean, in between patients, I'd be writing jokes and like, oh, I'll edit this, or okay, this didn't work, and but I believed in this joke, and I'm gonna rework, and it's so much fun, man, because when you're looking at these amazing comics, the Gaffigans, the Bill Burrs, all these guys, it's not like that material you're seeing in those Netflix, specials. I mean, they were honing that like many,
Oh
many,
yeah.
many shows, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's like 25, they probably did that one joke 25, 30 times minimum. And they refined it. Okay, this worked, this didn't work. And dude, that's so much fun, man. Like it's like, okay, you have this idea. Oh, this connected. Oh, wait. Like sometimes you do a joke, you think this is gonna be gangbusters, and it just bombs. And you're like, well, what happened? And you're like kind of like every night you're kind of like CSIing your set, and you're like, well, what happened here? What didn't work here? And but it's so much fun. But when you lose a passion for it, which was me towards the end because it kind of felt more like a job, then it's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Brutal. Then it's just they can feel you don't have the enthusiasm, and it's tough. And honestly, my biggest laughs toward the end of it was talking to the crowd. Talking to the crowd, man, was like because I wasn't really liking my jokes. My joke writing wasn't great, and talking to the crowd, man, it was so much fun. It was just like because they would just you all of a sudden they say something, and I would connect that with somebody else, and then somebody else, and
Yeah.
good.
Those are the best, man. And then it just
Oh,
comes full circle at the end.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
I did
man.
a show at Niagara Yuck Yucks one night, and it was like I was the MC, and that's what happened. It was just connected, and it was like five different people around the front, and it all connected. And it was like, oh man, this is just gold. And you
Yeah.
see guys like Russell. I mean, Russell is so amazing talking to the crowd.
Yeah.
And there's another Indian guy, Sugar Sammy from
Yeah. Yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah.
And like that guy's a beast when it comes to talking to the crowd. And it's a special skill. And man, it's so much fun when it connects because people are funny. Everybody's
Yeah.
stories are, God, in every one of our courses, I'm sure you could pick two or three people, and once you get into it,
Yeah.
pooh,
You know,
it just
I
explodes.
find it so interesting the parallels between this and dentistry because everyone is always trying to hone their craft, master their craft, whether you're a stand-up comic or a dentist that, you went to school for 9 years, you got your GPR, you got everything underneath your belt, and you're still trying to hone your craft and you're still trying to, you go home and you're still trying to figure out that case, just like you're trying to figure out your joke. It's kind of, I have a huge respect for that because we're always like, look at us right now. We're coming home to talk dentistry, just like you would come home from a comedy night and try to drill down your jokes. Right. So it's,
Oh,
I like that, Pio.
yes, it's very cool. The honing of it, and the guys who do well, man, in comedy, and same with dentistry. I mean, they hustle, man. They
Yeah,
hustle.
man, you
Like the one
hustle.
guy, Dave Merhesh, like this guy was doing like 14, 15 nights, 15 shows a week.
Really?
And he was just like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna crush it in terms of performing. I don't care where it was. He would find a music night and he would like, open there, and it didn't matter if people connected or not. And he was just hustling. And what happened was the owner of Yuck Yucks, I believe, told him, he's a good buddy of mine. He said something like, "You're never going to be a headliner." And dude, that just fueled this guy
Yeah,
like
man.
nothing else. And now he's touring in Australia, all over the world. Just a huge success story. But I mean, like dentistry, man. Like I was talking about a case. I mean, there's so many ups and downs, right? And
Yeah.
it's I think they're really good dentists and they're really good comics. Like you said, we it's hard not to take it personally and not to get down on it, but you learn from your mistakes and just keep getting better, right?
Yeah, man.
So,
So Pio, are you the kind of guy like if someone tells you you can't do something, you're like, dude, watch me? Is that you? Is that you?
uh, uh, I'd be lying to you. I want to say yes because that's going to be good for the podcast. But
No,
actually, I
man.
get pretty down about it. I get pretty down about it. Like for
Really?
example, like,
Oh,
yeah. So like the AACD, the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, they have this accreditation process, and I feel very confident in my cosmetics, but I submitted a couple cases that didn't pass, and man, that was just such a bummer for me, man. It was hard for me. I don't want to get too down about it, but it was just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, it just wounds your ego, and so it's hard for me to just like, okay, I'm gonna go back and prove those guys. I definitely have that in me, but when if somebody's critical of my work or something doesn't work out, yeah, I kind of like hold that to my heart for longer than I should, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what? I totally hear that, and I used to be that way, but now I if anyone ever challenges me, I'm like, okay, let's go. And it's
Yeah.
not in dentistry. Like, man, let me tell you a personal story. My mom. So I haven't seen my mom since 1996, and yeah, and so I was 13 years old, not even 12 years old, and she says, Nekky, have a good life. You're not going to amount to anything. And I hear those words in my head all the time. Like I can see it as if it was yesterday, and I'm like, okay, watch me. Whenever anyone says a GP, you like you're just a GP, you can't take out wisdom teeth, you can't do this. Okay, watch me.
Right.
I feel the fire, and I'm like, if I'm passionate about it, you can't tell me what I can and cannot achieve because I am the master of my destiny, not you. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
dude, if
yeah.
AACD came up to me and they said, and they probably would with my cases, man, I can't even submit any of them. They
Right.
talk to me about my cases and be like, all right, man, I'll see you next year, but I'm going to be the best case you'll ever have. Watch me. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I have that in me. Whereas I'm the leader of my destiny, not you. And, as soon as that clicked for me, it was like, yeah, I'm here to cheer all my people on beside me, but you can't tell me you're not the master of my destiny. I am. So when people talk down upon her, like your case isn't good enough, man, you just got to be like, dude, watch me.
right.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
man,
dude, I honestly, I wish I was more like you, man. That's insane. I didn't know those stories about you.
yeah, man. But dude, those stories, but like, I truly believe we need to have failure. You needed to get that letter from the AACD saying this isn't good enough. Cause like, what joy is there if we get everything that we want, or yeah, we get accredited the first time because we think we're good, but like, man, we need to be put in our place, and we need to know when to be like, okay, let me step this up. And I think that's what makes the final, the result when it does work out so much sweeter, because you're like, yeah, I busted my ass off for this. Man,
100%.
dude, man, I agree. You know how many oral surgeons told me, dude, you have no place teaching this? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm cool with that. But I bet you there's so many dentists that want to hear me, talk, and want to learn, because man, we're all in this together, and only a GP knows how to help another GP, right?
Right.
But
Good for
I
you,
don't know.
man.
No, man. But
Yeah,
dude,
that's and you got the best extraction course in not just Canada. I mean, geez,
no, no, no,
worldwide,
no.
man.
I want to swear on here, but screw them. Tell AACD where to go, and man, fire them back next year, man. Who cares? Who are them?
Yeah, well, honestly, dude, like I'm not going to. I was talking to a mutual buddy of ours, and I'm not going to like. There's good people there, and I know, and I see their cases, and I know I can. My work is on par with any of them, even the top guys. I know it. I know it. And
Yeah,
I just gotta. It's just. I just got to go through it again because I mean, go through like I have to submit a few more cases to get passed. I'm not going to let them beat me in the sense
yeah,
of,
man.
and they're a great academy. I really love being a part of it, but I'm not going to let them, you know, get me down about what I do because I know what I do, and I feel like I can be on par with some of the best in the world. And so, what you're saying, I wish I had your,
Nah,
you
man.
know, you're like
Dude,
your passion. You're just like, I love it, man.
I want to get into this because um, I loved Prosto when I graduated, and I really thought it was amazing how people like you do these. I've seen your cases, Pio. Don't try to sell yourself short here. Like you've done some amazing stuff. And
Thanks,
those are
man.
the things that I thought I wanted to do. So I started like, doing some cases. I looked past my previous aesthetic cases and I'm like, yeah, I could have, like, I wish this was better here, here, and here. I didn't really understand occlusion. Started taking Kois, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. And I'm like, I don't even understand 1 and 2. And yet I'm here at 3 and 4. You know what I mean? And then,
Right.
5 and 6 are right here. I got to sign up for those because then 1 and 2 is going to make sense. And here I'm still trying to figure out this deprogrammer. And everyone's like, I see my classmates running with it and doing these crazy cases, and I don't understand the damn thing still. And then, I hear Kois, and then I hear, well, Nekky, what about Dawson? Maybe you should go into Panky. How did you decide? Like, I know you said one of your other dentists that you were first started with, they were big into Panky. How did you decide what occlusion route to go down? And why did you decide occlusion out of all the things to dive into?
So that's a great question. So the the my mentor Dennis, his name was Delegui, and he had tasted all of it, right? So Panky, he was
Yeah.
big into Panky, and then he was big into Rudy Slavichuk in Australia, and he was big into Dawson. So how it works, I mean, the real story with all this is they all kind of start together. Obviously, Pete Dawson was one of the elderly statesmen, and him and LD Panky, they were the ones who were developing all these occlusal principles, biggest one
Yeah.
being centric relation, right? But like Frank Spear, and John Kois were pretty close with Pete, right? And they were pretty close with Pete. I think Frank at one point worked with Pete, and then they branched off to their own thing. At one point, Frank and I believe the story is that Frank and John worked together. I know they worked together, and then something happened. John decided to do his own thing, and now they both have incredible academies. So here's a good thing. I think between Dawson, Pankey, Coy Spear, we're pretty similar in terms of occlusion. There's some minor things here and there. Everybody wants to try to distinguish themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Like for example, John is not big on interior guidance. We have a rebuttal to what he said about interior guidance, but more or less, we're on point with most of it in occlusion. I know Frank is for sure, because Frank learned occlusion from Pete. So to me, when I look at all of them, Pete is the godfather of all this, and what really impressed me with that is I love their hands-on. I love the way they just can make the complex simple, and I really love what Pete represented because I think Pete more than anybody else was about a balanced life, man. And when you have little kids, and I mean, Pete wasn't. He admitted it. He wrote a book about it. He wasn't the perfect father or husband, but he really strived towards that towards the end. And I think my biggest struggle in life is the balance between your work, play, your family, and whatever else.
Yeah.
And Pete, that was a big part of that academy, because in the end, I think if you graduate from any of them, let's
Yeah.
let's say Dawson, Pankey, Pankey, Spear, Coys, if you implement what they teach you, you're going to be a great dentist. Anyone,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, anyone. There's some things here that some of the guys have good advantage over the others. Uh, but I loved too what Pete was in terms of not just about the dentistry, but also about life.
Mm.
And so, in the academy there, I've made so many good friends, and I feel like we're incredible. The people who I know and my good friends are very down to earth. There's not. I feel like with some academies, I hate to say it, it's just I don't know if cliquey is the right word, but just kind of not
Yeah,
arrogant,
man. Yeah.
sort of like an arrogance, like an air about almost like a cult like air about
Yeah.
it, and which is not me at all, man. Like I'll give you a perfect. I'll just say this one quick thing, like with articulators, for example, right?
Yeah.
Certain
Yeah.
academies said that, oh, you have to buy this articulator. I'm pretty sure with Kois it's the Panadent, right?
Yeah.
Like
We've
you
all
got
been
to
there, man. All been there. Yeah.
all that, right? And Dawson is not like that. I mean, you can now they're big with the whip mix dinar, okay, but I have my you know I have an articulator. It's an Artex, okay. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic articulator. I use it for all my cases, and it's not nobody in Dawson has this, but guess what? It does everything that their articulators do, and they're not saying you have to use this exclusively. So I like that, man. Like I like kind of an open-ended, like you have open-ended software and closed-ended software, same type of thing. I feel like Dawson's very open-ended, you know, follow the principles, but you don't have to use everything they use. So, anyways, I just feel the Dawson Academy is very down to earth, and the message you can handle complex cases, and simplify it, and it's really changed my practice. So it was my mentor Dennis Nekky that got me to Pete, and once I saw Pete speak seminar one, which is probably the greatest lecture ever done in the history of dentistry,
Uh-huh.
because it just goes over all these concepts, man, occlusion, joints, aesthetics, all these things that he godfathered. Because people just think of him as a CR guy. He changed cosmetic dentistry too, which is insane about him. And he went over all that in seminar one, and to this day, and I've seen some awesome speakers. I've seen Mish speak. I've seen Frank Spear speak. I've seen Kois speak. I've seen some awesome lecturers. And Pete Dawson seminar one, man, that's the
That's the
Mount
gold
Everest.
standard. Okay.
That's a gold
Man,
standard.
I got to go take seminar one. Does he still do that?
Sadly, so seminar one is the Dawson guy still does it, but
Yeah.
Pete passed away in 2019. He was
Yeah. I thought
87,
he passed away.
88.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Huh.
it was sad for everybody, but man, he lived such a great life and such a full life. And but yeah, seminar. So what I have in my car, which is 13 years old, that's how much I'm rocking it here in dentistry. But in my car, which is 13 years old, I have the DVD, the CDs from Seminar One on my hard drive. I have an
Yeah.
Acura TL, and dude, I still every now and then I'll listen to him, and listening to him speak, man, it's just incredible, man. It's like it's
Really.
something you and I could model ourselves after, because he just takes complex concepts and just says it so beautifully, and just makes it so understandable. I mean, those guys too. I mean, John and Frank are phenomenal at that too. And I don't know if you ever saw Mish speak, but Mish was like, he was hilarious. He was the opposite of Pete, right? He was just
Yeah.
like, his ego was through the roof, but man, was he entertaining. Man, was he
Huh.
entertaining.
Man, I feel like COVID has erased my memory of good lectures. Like I used to go to lectures all the time, and now it's just like, did I see a webinar with that guy? Because I'm done with webinars. I'm not even gonna watch another webinar if I have to, man.
It's true, right?
No, man, it's
People
nuts.
have
Yeah,
to-
no, I got to get back out here and go see some of these guys again. This is that's cool. But Pio, explain me something. A patient
Yeah.
walks in your office, and they're like, I'm unhappy with my two front teeth, and they're worn down. You can tell they've had a lot of occlusal trauma, attrition, whatever, and like they don't have a stable bite. You see wear all over the place, but they just want to fix their two front teeth. How do you talk to that patient about explaining to them that, like, I can't fix your two front teeth without addressing all your posterior teeth because there's no space? Like, I've always had that difficulty talking to them, trying to help patients understand that everything is related. How do you take the time to do that, and what are you saying to these patients? Because that's the most common scenario I still see today.
That's a great question. Another one. I mean, it's What happened with me, man, when I early started earlier with this is you wanted to do all these cases, right? You wanted to like, okay, I went through all this Dawson, I got to start doing these cases, and there's so much pressure to close, a case and have them do it the Dawson way or your situation the Kois way, and I just let that go, man. And now when I have a new patient exam, I book about 90 minutes. Do I use that whole 90 minutes? No.
Yeah.
But we take 6 photos, and we do a detailed exam from outside in, looking at joints, everything, and at the end I break it down. I actually got this breakdown from Spear, function, smile, teeth, and biology, which is your periodontal,
Yeah.
and I just show them everything, and I show them the photos, and I say, there's more going on than just these two front teeth. You have severe wear here. These teeth, it didn't happen by trauma. It didn't happen by what you're chewing. This is tooth on tooth wear. And in order for me to understand this properly, I really need to take a step back, get proper records, and I'll study your everything on a bite machine, because saying articulator is that's just right. So I'll
Even
say
to me, man.
oh shoot, right? And I learned that, I think Jeff Morley and Jimmy Eubanks. I listened to a lecture from them. They said bite machine. I'm like, oh, how are we going to use bite machine?
Yeah.
And then I'll show them an actual set of mounted models. I mean, we have like it's all over the place, right? We have like it's all over in our office. So this is like pre-op models. I'll show them. I said like this is the patient, for example, teeth are really worn, and then I'll show them the wax up that we've done, or where our lab tech has done, to show them how we build the contours and I just kind of describe them the flow, and then I leave it up to them. So in your situation with that patient with two front worn teeth, and they just want to work those two teeth, they're that patient who's going to dictate, the treatment.
Yeah.
I used to let people bully me all the time, man. I used to let people bully me into like doing the treatment that they wanted,
Yeah.
and almost every time it backfired. I had two people who were loving on me, and I didn't address occlusion. They just wanted the front teeth done, and there was wear issues and stuff. Sure enough, problems happened, and then they became my enemies, and they left the practice. And since that, I'm like, no, man, I'm not. I've had people leave. I've had people like go do the dentistry somewhere else. I'm like, good luck, good
Yeah.
luck. I mean, I had a young guy who had a zirconia bridge on the lower, like 3.3 to like 3.5 or something, and it was destroying his upper teeth, man. Like
Yeah.
I mean, the 4.3 to 4.5 was destroying his upper. It's like 1.3 to 1.5, destroying it. And this guy had some severe wear, major grinding, and it was almost a full mouth rehabilitation. I showed him everything. He agreed to the models, and I charge about, like, I don't know, between records is about, between me and the lab, about 700-800 to do the records, and the wax
Yeah.
up's going to be another 900,000. And he did all of it. I showed it to him. I said, "Listen, this is the only way we can engineer this. Engineering is a key word.
That is a good
To
word. I like that. Yeah.
It's a good word to
Yeah.
rehabilitate this." And he walked, and he went to an office. And from what I heard, that dentist does not do anything like this. And good luck. He
Yeah.
probably went. And you know this. I mean, there's a reason for cliches. It's because they're true. You get what you're paid for, right? And this guy probably went. He probably got a treatment plan that was probably half the price. My plan was probably around 30,000.
Yeah.
And he probably went, got something planned for 10,000. Probably got some of his worn teeth fixed and stuff. And things are going to break down.
Yeah.
And honestly, Nekky, I'd rather have these people walk. I'd rather do. I teach on resin restorations, and the beauty of our composites is that there's none of the stress associated with these big cases, right? Like
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
a root canal, maybe,
Yeah.
like, but I can like, it's like almost like meditative. I can do my resin restorations. I'll try to knock it out of the park, and they walk, and everybody's happy. When you get into these cases, if you're not following your Kois principles or my Dawson principles, you can get into real hot water pretty fast,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's the worst, man. It's not. I don't know, man. It's just I don't want that. I need peace of mind in my office, man. That's what this is all about. I need predictability for peace of mind, so I can go, and then next time I see you, we hang and have a drink, or hang with my family, and enjoy a vacation. Not worried. Oh, geez, I hope those veneers don't chip or
Yeah.
break. Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
my life, man. I just don't. I don't.
But Pio, explain to me, what would you tell the dentist that is like, I want to do Pio, teach me how to do all these big cases because, you know, I want to be able to do a full mouth rehab. It's almost like a badge of honor dentists have is I can fully rehabilitate a mouth. I can do a full arch of crowns. I feel like people just want to say that they can do that, whether it's done correctly or not is a whole other story. But why, as like, you know, I'm in my 13th year of my career, I'm like, you know, to me, that sounds like stress. Like at this point right now, I don't want to pick up a handpiece and prep 12 crowns. I couldn't do it because I wouldn't know how to manage everything properly. I'd be okay doing a single, you know, some resin restorations, giving the patient a high five, call it a day. What do you tell, like, there's obviously different types of dentists out there. You have, you know, your more full mouth comprehensive approach versus, you know, a drill and fill type dentist. What are you telling dentists? Like, where should they go? Like, do you think all dentists should go into this like Dawson and occlusion approach, or should they skip the headache almost and just be okay doing the resins, right?
You if you want to do this type of work and you want it to be even remotely profitable, because the reality is doing what you're doing, Nekky, and you're taking out wisdom teeth, honest to God, is more profitable than doing these cases. And I know some big lecturers out there, like I remember hearing a Rob Ritter and Ramsey in Florida saying the same thing. Like they do a lot of these cases. And it's like the profits in these cases are not that great. So if people are thinking, oh, you know, the big money and all this stuff. No, I spend hours, man,
Yeah.
hours. Like it's not when I think about what I've done, like prepping 12 teeth and like temporizing impressions, it's like it almost gets my heart rate going a little bit, right? So the people want shortcuts all the time. That's our society now, right? Like, you know, we want
Yeah.
instant gratification. Amazon Prime is going to be here next day, and that's how we're kind of approaching dentistry education. And
Yeah.
I see this with some of the young guns, like some really good dentists, and they just want to jump in these cases. And if you're not going to follow a set amount of protocols, I mean, like I know a young dentist around here, and he was in a study club of mine. He's a good dentist, and he wants to jump into these big cases. And I've heard him getting into hot water with some of these cases because he learns everything off Instagram. Oh, he saw it on Instagram.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
now you saw it on
That's,
Instagram. Now,
yeah.
now you're ready. Now you're ready. Right.
Is
So
that
I
true?
mean, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, these like so if you go whether you could do Dawson, Spear, or Kois, let's just say those three. They don't tell you after lecture one, okay, go at her now. You're good to go. No, there's a progression, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a progression. With Dawson, step one is, you know, once you understand seminar one, okay, let's do a proper exam. Let's make sure you can repeatedly find centric relation and take the proper records and the proper photos, like good quality photos. That's in and of itself a two and a half day course. Okay, master that. Step two. Okay, well now you got these models of patients. Let's practice treatment planning. Okay, how are you going to build these incisal edges? How are you going to equilibrate these models? How are you going to really create a comprehensive plan? That's step two. You're still not touching teeth, right?
Yeah.
Step three. Okay, in the flow is okay. Equilibrate. How do you properly equilibrate somebody so that their bite is on point? And looking at different cases, an anterior open bite, a standard class one, class two. Like, how are you going to equilibrate that patient? That's a 2.5 day course. Okay,
Yeah.
now we can start. Okay, now we can start maybe doing like some veneers and equilibration. And then the fourth hands-on course is restoring anterior teeth, which is then really hones on your temporization. My point being, Nekky, is that those are four very intensive hands-on courses, like 2.5 days, like intensive. And just to master each section takes time in your practice. I've seen so many dentists who go through the Dawson curriculum, they come back and they haven't even taken any records. I'm like, well, why did you do that? Like, why did you go and pay that money and you didn't go back and try to implement it? Like, once I took a course, I wasn't always great at implementing, but I made sure my team were like, okay, we're going to start taking 21 photos for our complex cases. That's happening.
Yeah.
My assistants, they're rock stars, and I tell them they are doing all the face bows. I don't do the face bows; they do it. You know, and you implementation. You know this with your own students is tough. So to jump into full mouth rehab, that's insane. Like you need, whether it's Dawson, which are four very intensive hands on, or Spear or Kois. You saw that you went through
Yeah.
Kois. How intensive that was, and I'm
Yeah.
sure John did say at the end of Essentials 1 and 2, okay, guys, Nekky, now it's your time to go do full mouth rehabs. Not a chance. Not a
No,
chance,
man.
because
Yeah.
that's his reputation on the line. That's John's reputation on the line. He doesn't want, a bunch of dentists going out after they just learned the bare, essentials and starting to like rehab people, because that's going to make him look bad, right?
Totally.
So I think this. The young dentists out there with Instagram and all these things, man, they just want a quick fix. They want a quick solution. They just want to jump and go, and that's really scary, man. It really scary, because they're going to get into cases that could blow up in their faces, and it's going to cost them tons of money. I
Yeah.
mean, that's happened. That's happened to me, and I was actually doing the Dawson stuff, and I was trying to learn it, and I had cases that didn't work, and devastating. But imagine if you're not even doing anything, not learning anything, and everything you've
Yeah.
learned is from Instagram.
We see it too often now, man. It's the Dunning Kruger effect. It's you don't know what you don't know. Like people with very little knowledge think they're geniuses, whereas people who have dived into a subject for years and years and researched and taken courses and try to hone their craft think that they're always failures because they don't know enough. That's the Dunning Kruger effect. And I think that's what Instagram has mastered. It's created people like me who go on dental Instagram, be like, oh, look at those fillings. I can, shape them like that. I can do veneers. And like, I would never do that. But that's what it's doing. People in dental school see this as the way that it's done. And it's cool because they want to, create a nice photo and do great work. But getting to that point isn't just as easy as taking a good photo. You know what I mean?
What is the
Yeah.
Dunning? How do you spell that? The Dunning Kruger effect? What's that?
Dunning Kruger, Dunning, Kruger, Krueger. Kruger. Yeah.
Okay, Dunning
It's
Kruger.
it's
Yeah.
it's I feel like it plays true, and as like you have a couple more years in your career than I do, when you were, first got out, you're like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you jump right into it. Whereas now, like, 15, 20 years out, you think so hard. You're like, do I want to take on this case? Because what are the ramifications? Is this patient, am I better off letting this patient walk across the street to do it? Because this is going to be a nightmare of a case. Whereas a young Dr. Modi would have said, all right, let's go. Records, don't need them.
Right.
Prepping next week. Let's do this. Right. And so
Right.
it's funny how, like, as we get more experience, we get more gun shy because we know what's coming and we know the failures are just around the corner, and failures suck to deal with. We all have our own failures, but now in the stage of our career, we're like, how can I minimize my failures, maximize my successes, and limit my stress, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel like I am right now. No?
I'm exactly where you're at. I mean, I was seeking your advice, your counsel about a patient, and I thought everything went on point. 1, 2, and I knew at the start, I was like, I don't know if I should take on this case, and I felt everything was on point, and I have a consult with her because she's not happy with something, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, and it's exactly what you said. Like we now know, okay, how to be safer and what case to take on. And I'm honestly, Nekky, these cases, I'm gonna be very selective. Like if you are in any way difficult or you're like slamming the previous dentist, I'm like,
That's a big red flag. Hey.
man. It's
Oh
a big red
man.
flag.
I'm
I
very
have patients,
skeptical. Yeah.
yeah, like I have one right now, and I'm like, part of me is kind of like, I don't even know if I want to do this case because she's that disc profile. She's a high D driver,
Yeah.
and that doesn't bode well with me. Maybe because I'm all about trying to make sure my preps are like polished on point. I take a lot of time in there, man. And if you're a driver, oh man, me and you for these
Yeah.
cases, it's not a good fit. And we're in it for the long haul with these cases, and they're not easy. And I need people who are patient and who are cool, good people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Just
so.
relax. Yeah.
Anyways,
So,
yeah,
do
I'm
do
glad
you
to be more
do you
selective.
use you brought up a good point. Do you use like personality profiling when you're looking into doing cases?
I should more. We talk about all the time. I want all of our charts to have um, one of the letters of the people. I said, make your best guess, like my team, right? So the disc, the D is that they want to be done yesterday. The I is that very expressive, like, maybe you and I have some I in us, we can, socialize, and like they just love talking. I really like C's. Those are the analyticals, right? They have a lot of questions. I don't like when it's that kind of neurotic questioning.
Right.
But if you have a lot of questions about it, hey man, I feel like I know my stuff, just like you know your stuff. Have at her. I'll explain
Those,
everything.
those are the
And then the
engineers of the
S,
group.
engineers of the group.
Yeah.
And the S's though, it's very interesting because S's are the people who just want to, they're the easy, they want to keep the peace, easy peasy, keep the peace. But what I've learned in my career is that they're the ones who leave you like that, and you have no
Really?
idea what happened. And it's happened to me a few times where, they seem happy, everything's good. And all of a sudden we get a letter, from another practice requesting x-rays. I'm like, what happened? And maybe it could have been something I said. I said a joke that, I always feel like I'm very tasteful with my jokes. I don't say anything offensive, but maybe I said something. I don't know. But S's, we take S's for granted. Like you think, oh well, they're just Evie. They just want to, even Steven. They're just super nice and easygoing. And I've learned that they can leave on a dime, and you have no idea why. So
Really?
we try to put everybody's personality in their charts. For the big cases, I should be paying attention to that more. I don't as much. I should be though. The biggest thing from the way I do dentistry, a D is not great, because if you need to be out yesterday and you want me to slam in a bunch of veneers within two
Yeah.
weeks, I'm not your guy, man. I'm not your guy. Like I bring you back. I want to make sure the provisionals are good. You've test driven everything, and then the labs I work with, I want them to spend the time on the restoration. So, I mean, there's a guy out, I don't know if he's in your way, but Gordon Chee's incredible. The
Oh
stuff he
yeah,
does
out
is,
in Calgary, right? Yeah, he
yeah,
does some amazing
he's
stuff.
incredible. He's
Yeah.
amazing. And like, I can't imagine him, like the way he's so on point with all his stuff. I mean, he's got to be taking his time too, right? So it's, the D personality is not great.
So D is the drivers. They want everything done yesterday, right?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
now.
Now, yeah. Those are the
And
people. They come in. I got grad in 3 weeks. I need this done.
yeah, I love that. It's like I just had a patient today. She's like, lovely lady, and she's like, "Well, I hope they can get this partial made in 2 weeks." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? What? Did you go on a trip? Like, it was just one crown. I was setting her up for a denturist, and now she's like, I hope they can get the partial done in 2 weeks." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, you timed this terribly. You timed this horribly. Like." Like, why are you coming to me asking for veneers and you're getting married in like a month? Like, are you out to lunch? Like, you had all this time to plan it.
It's so
Like,
true.
I don't get it, man. And that happens all the time. All the time. I don't understand.
Oh god, that's so funny, man.
Yeah. No. All the time.
No,
I just support you all the time. Oh, I was gonna go on this trip. I was hoping I was gonna be done. I'm like, yeah, I don't know
yeah.
what to tell you, but it's
I didn't
not
book
gonna
your
happen.
vacay, man. I didn't book your vacay. You did.
Yeah, it's like, oh, get it,
Yeah.
man.
So what cases, as like you're a very comprehensive dentist, you plan these bigger cases. What is it that brings you like the satisfaction that you're like, yeah, I want to do this again and again and again, versus like, maybe seeing that single crown person and you get like the quick little wins, you know what I mean? Because the bigger cases, that takes a long time to get those wins.
You know what it is? I mean, a big part of it is, the patient satisfaction, like knowing that I have like completely changed this person's life in terms of I've made them look younger by giving, instead of these old worn teeth, they have teeth now that are better than mine. Like my smile really stinks compared to what I'm giving people, and they have like I've dude, more than anything that can be done in plastic surgery, I've made them look younger by 10 years. I
Yeah.
made them allowed them to chew. So the confidence that I'm giving people is huge. But another big thing about it, Nekky, is that I love being the guy that can solve the problems. So that
Ah,
somebody's coming in and everybody's told them that, oh, it's kind of like your situation where you're saying oral surgeons are telling you that you shouldn't be teaching about wisdom teeth extractions.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when people come in and they feel like their case is hopeless. I want to be the guy who can, okay, no, we can make this work, and we don't have to rip out all your teeth and put in all on four and all this. You know, and
Because
I
those are
love
all
placing
gonna fail.
implants. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I love placing implants, and I don't ever want to be associated with an all on four personally.
Yeah.
Uh, and and, uh, and as much as I love placing implants, man, I know you love placing implants. If I can save teeth, pooh.
Yeah.
And if I worked through some cases last year, which I was really proud, man, because it took a lot of my skill set, my treatment planning. It took a lot of like managing the case chair side, and I think it worked out really nice in the end. And now could they lose some of these teeth in the future? Possibly, but we were able to hold on to the teeth and give them a solution to save teeth, as opposed to you know pulling out a lot of their teeth. And so that to me gives me huge satisfaction. I mean, a case I'm hoping to write an article on is a lady with a deep overbite, you know, worn teeth, anesthetic teeth, bridge, and it was a bridge. I was wearing her opposing teeth. And then I sat her down and said, listen, you have a deep overbite, you have massive wear. We have to open your vertical here, reduce this overbite, and get things, and this is going to involve restoring all your teeth. And I was almost afraid to tell her that.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, what? I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it, man. And it was right before COVID. And thank God, dude, thank God I didn't start any of my like bigger cases right before COVID. Thank God.
No
I
kidding,
had,
man.
oh, dude, because I placed a couple of implants for one guy, but I didn't touch any of his teeth, right? So, because I have patients in like temporaries, like we're talking, their whole mouth is in temporaries. And if it was COVID lockdown, man, I would have been like,
Yeah, you'd be
every
sweating,
day
man.
checking the voicemail, just like crapping myself, just, oh my God, this is gonna be a day where things are chipping and breaking, and holy cow. So thankfully I didn't start anything before COVID. Thank God. But
Yeah.
since COVID, man, it's been interesting. I worked through some of the best cases I've ever done. And I love being the guy who can problem solve. And
I like that.
I love being able to, I love the challenge, and I love, okay, let's see how we can make this and make you walk away with teeth, that look better than most 20-year-olds, right? But that you can function, this is going to last. The engineering aspect and the design aspect, Nekky, for me is so much fun. I really love it.
You're a problem solver, man. I like that.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it.
I
Love it.
really, really like that, dude. I have huge respect for that, Pio. I honestly, I wish you lived closer to me, because out of all the people I met, I just feel like I have this connection with you, and I'm like, I just want to hang out with Pio. Like, I'll fly to Toronto, we'll go to a Raptor game, and let's just hang out, buddy.
Dude, would love to do that, man. Love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
man. Pio,
I was,
you're
I was supposed to
what?
I thought I was going to be at the PTC this year, and
Yeah.
virtual. I'm sure you were speaking, right?
Yeah, I had 4 lectures, and then they all went online, and I was like, oh man.
We would have hung for sure, man.
I know,
That would have been
man.
incredible. Like I was so pumped, and then yeah, like I had the one, and I was like the resin course, and
Yeah.
yeah, we just recorded it last week. I was like, oh man, but oh dude, I'd love to hang with you, man. It would be
Yeah, man.
incredible.
Dude, Pio, you're my long lost brother. I don't know. I feel so connected to you, man. I really
Oh,
love you,
like
buddy.
same,
Dude,
man.
thank you so much for sharing your craft and sharing your story with us tonight. I'm going to be taking Pio's resin course as part of Dentistry Academy. Do you have any planned up, or are they all next year?
I think there was something coming up. I got to talk to those guys. I don't know what they've been doing recently. They've been doing their real estate investments. I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
with these guys. I heard from them, and like I just heard from them a while. But we're supposed to. We're supposed to have another course this year. I don't know
yeah,
when it's going to be, but I'll talk to Mian and Jeff and
yeah.
Hisham about it.
And Pio teaches at the Dawson Academy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I help the courses there, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But when are you teaching coming to Ontario? Are you coming soon? Anytime soon?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I got some hands-on courses coming up. I don't remember the dates. Sometime in May or June, but you're gonna be my first phone call as soon as I find out.
Dude, I'm coming. Wherever you are, I'm coming.
I love it, man. Dude, let's reconnect soon. It was a pleasure to have you on, and to see you again, my friend. We will chat soon, okay, brother?
Yeah, man. Love you, man. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks,
Real
buddy.
honor.
Okay, see
Appreciate
you,
it.
bud. Okay, bye.
See you, buddy. Thank you.